McCartney needs to get on the same page with his ministers. It is one thing to have a difference of opinions, but in the last week, there have been 3 separate occasions where we heard something from one of his ministers, and when McCartney gets asked the same question, he gives a different answer. These are experienced politicians. So I'm talking Francois-Philippe Champagne, Gregor Robinson, Dominic LeBlanc. So here's the thing. It is either these ministers have no clue what they're doing, or McCartney is being dishonest with Canadians again. McCartney has been caught telling selective truths in the past. That's how I like to describe a lie. But McCartney has been caught telling selective truths in the past. He omitted mentioning that Donald Trump was still referring to Canada as the 51st state during their first call. That came out during the election. It was awkward, but ultimately it did not cost him. He told selective truths about his involvement in moving Brookfield headquarters to New York as well. He has been caught in several of these now. Is he telling selective truths now? That's the real question, isn't it? Look, I'm not just throwing things out there. I'll show you some of these contradictions that I observed this week. I'm talking about examples of those situations where a minister said something and McCartney comes out and contradicts them. Exhibit A. Let's start with Francois-Philippe Champagne.
Essentially, the government is operating right now on special warrants because Parliament has been dissolved, and that's the way money gets spent to keep the lights on in the various entities that rely on public funding. And to deliver on obviously you'll have to pass some sort of supply bill while Parliament opens. But to start delivering on the promises, it doesn't mean one piece of legislation for each promise. Because normally you bundle them in a budget, which lays it out and gives you the spending authority. And if we're not going to, it sounds like we're not going to have a budget in 2025 at all. Does this mean we wait until the spring of 2026 to get a full budget?
We'll have a very substantive update coming the fall, and that's going to be giving a picture to Canadians, because we'll have less uncertainty. I would think by then. I mean, we're seeing that in markets, less volatility, a bit more certainty about U.S. tariffs and how things are evolving. And I think, what I want to be is prudent.
Okay, so there will be no budget in the summer for sure, right? There's a lot of uncertainty with negotiations with the US, with NATO, and all sorts of things, right? They want to be prudent, he says. You know what? I can understand that. But what about the fall, right? In the fall, he says we will likely see an economic statement and not a budget. For the sake of clarity, a budget is a comprehensive financial plan that outlines government spending, taxation, and economic priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. It includes detailed allocations of various sectors and is debated in Parliament before implementation. That's key, right? An economic statement is not that. An economic statement provides some information about the health of the books, but it is not the same as a budget. Here's what McCartney said when he was asked about whether we would have a budget by the fall.
There'll be a budget in the fall. In the short term, it's a very short parliamentary session that is coming up. The speech from the throne is on the 27th, as people know. The House is due to rise under the House's rules by the 20th of June, so it's really 3 weeks. We have some very clear priorities, which, as you know from following those who followed the campaign, those who followed my remarks, those who followed my opening press conference, would include the federal government taking all the steps it can to help create one Canadian economy out of 13, in addition, initiatives such as the middle class tax cut. But there will be a budget in the fall.
Okay, that's a clear contradiction to what Francois-Philippe Champagne said. He didn't say there will be a fall economic statement like his Minister of Finance just said. He said there will be a budget. Clear contradiction. So I guess we'll have to see who's telling the truth here by the fall, right? And the other thing, I wonder what kinds of surprises might be waiting for us in that budget. You might recall in the last fall economic statement, the fall of 2024, we found out that Justin Trudeau's government had blown past their own fiscal guardrails. The fall economic statement from 2024 showed a $62 billion deficit. It was really the beginning of the end for Justin Trudeau. Will there be more surprises this fall? Yeah, probably. Probably when you really think about it. Probably, right? You might recall in McCartney's platform, he projected that there would be $35 billion in new spending in his first year. Now, that's quite a bit, isn't it? Right? You might also recall that McCartney talked about dividing the budget into an operational side and an investment side. Now, you guys who watch the channel know I don't like this idea very much. It is Harry Potter economics at best. It is basically an assumption that your left pocket owes money, but your right pocket is debt free. But you know what? I'm not the economist. McCartney is the big short economist this country voted for. So I guess we have to wait and see, right? That's always my approach with these politicians. Let him cook. Hopefully he doesn't cook us all, but let him cook, I guess. Here's the second contradiction that happened last week. Let's move on to Gregor Robinson now, shall we?
Do you think home prices need to go down? No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing.
So, Gregor Robinson says home prices don't need to come down. Instead, the government needs to build more affordable homes. So what are we thinking here? Rows of cell block housing? Side-by-side studio apartments with one washroom at the end of the hall? Is that what we're thinking in terms of affordable homes here? Like, I'm being sarcastic, obviously, but look, in the end, he's not totally wrong. Of course, they don't want prices to drop. Imagine you're a person who owns a home right now. Say your house is worth $1 million and you're retired. For lots of baby boomers, that's their entire life savings. Like, they may choose to downsize as they grow older to fund their retirement, but that's their life savings for a lot of people. Homes are treated as investments by a lot of people who already own a home, right? And they are. How would you like to see your $1 million investment turn into $700K because the government is trying to get some whippersnappers into the market? It sucks for young people like me trying to get into the market, but the fact is there is no timeline where that $1 million house comes on the market for $700K or whatever you consider affordable. That's just not the path to affordable housing. More supply might help to stabilize prices and slow the rate of price increase, but I would not expect prices to come down significantly. So in that sense, Gregor Robinson is not wrong. I know the media kind of blew it up and made him look like the devil. It's kind of true what he says. McCartney did get asked about this, and I think he provided a more comprehensive answer. Doesn't necessarily mean he said anything different. Listen to what McCartney says here.
Hi, Mr. Carney. MacKenzie Gray with Global News. Do you want house prices to go down in Canada?
I want house prices to be more affordable for Canadians. And let me explain that. It means a number of things. One, in the very short term, it means getting specific costs out of the price. So for new home buyers, is as many people know, and I want everybody to know this, cutting GST on homes, new homes, and ensuring that particularly younger Canadians get the benefit from that. So that's the first thing. The second thing we want is to strip out, and we will do, put in place measures so to strip out, in fact, half the development charges for construction on homes. So again, another measure that in the near term will lower the cost of new term homes, and those lower costs should be passed on to home buyers. The third thing we think needs to happen, and we'll do at scale, is to help develop a much more efficient home building industry in Canada on a path to a broader doubling of the rate of home growth in Canada. So all of those factors are going to help to improve affordability. The exact level of house prices, of course, is going to be a function of a variety of factors, including where incomes grow.
In every way that matters, they're kind of saying the same thing. McCartney is just adding a bit more fluff material. It is good context to have, but it boils down to the same thing. Home prices won't come down. Instead, they're focusing on cutting GST for first-time home buyers. This was a promise they made on the campaign trail. That will save people up to $50,000. Now, to be fair, in the grand scheme of things, shaving off $50K from a $1 million house doesn't necessarily make it more affordable. Now you're paying $950K instead of $1 million. Congratulations. Now you're buying a house. They also want to cut development charges. The idea with that is to reduce the costs that builders pass on to buyers. I hope they have some sort of control on that. I mean, in the end, these developers are out to maximize their profit. What is the incentive to actually reduce prices for them, right? Like, what stops them from winning both ways? I mean, taking the cuts to development charges from the government and still trying to keep prices as high as they can. The last point McCartney mentions is that they want to see wages rise relative to home prices. And I think that's where the entire strategy really becomes a bit clearer. You increase supply and try to keep home prices steady for a bit. You find a way to get wages up at a rate that's faster than home price increase. The GST break and reducing development charges will help as well, right? With all these things together, when you really put them together, they expect to have a net positive effect of making home prices more affordable. Again, that's a bit of a wait and see game. It's a wait and see game. There is no certainty that will work. Anyways, Obviously, with regards to pipelines, we know where Stephen Guilbeault stands, and at least one other minister in the Liberal cabinet. People keep asking Stephen Guilbeault about pipelines. It is not his business anymore. He is no longer environment minister. We know where Stephen Guilbeault stands on the issue of pipelines. He's against pipelines. That's not news. Imagine if Stephen Guilbeault is suddenly like, drill, baby, drill. Like, imagine if he was like, drill, baby, drill. Now, that would be weird. McCartney, on the other hand, has been talking about being open to pipelines and working towards energy security. To be honest, the skeptic in me believes no pipelines will be built. That's just my honest opinion. I think there's a little bit of gaming going on there. Just my thoughts. Last thing I'll say in this particular video, I've been receiving quite a bit of negative feedback from my conservative friends because I criticized Pierre Poilievre for rage baiting last week. You know, I like to take this moment to apologize to absolutely nobody. Truth hurts, you guys. This channel is not here to serve any politician or party. I criticize every single one of them. As I've told you guys many times, I am a centrist. All I care about is that the government of the day delivers wages that go far, houses that I can afford, and save streets. That is all. That is all. I couldn't give a flying fuck about McCarney's cabinet. I said that in a video last week. He can put Winnie the Pooh in charge if he wants. He can put Margot Robbie in charge. Get me results. That is all I care about. I do not care for Pierre Poilievre opposing just to oppose either. Right? What I want is for Pierre Poilievre to do what is necessary to support the government to deliver for Canadians. Don't friggin' rage bait your followers, Pierre. Like, that's beneath you, I hope. So here's my thing. I make zero apologies, and I will continue to call these guys out. I won't always say what you want to hear. I won't always be complimentary of your favorite politician. That's how it's going to be on this channel. So subscribe if that's a deal that works for you. Let's grow a robust community here where we can actually share and debate ideas. Okay? Thank you so much for listening. Peace, you guys.